Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, let your thoughts drift. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of the world where time slows and the sea sings. Here, you'll find a story of calm, of healing, and of light. Before starting, let us know in the comments. Where are you from and what time are watching this video? Now close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Let go off all the thoughts in your mind. The storm didn't come suddenly. It had been building inside Mara for months. It wasn't the kind you could watch on a radar or hear coming down the coastline. This storm was quiet, invisible, but no less real. It began the day she lost her father. Not all at once, but in pieces. First, his laugh stopped echoing in the house. Then the warmth of his morning texts faded from her phone. And finally, the silence after his funeral stretched into weeks. Then, months. And then, a constant presence. On the outside, everything still looked okay. She went to work, answered messages, smiled at neighbors. But inside, she was drifting, adrift in thoughts. Moments of forgetfulness stretched into hours. A sinking feeling sat heavy in her chest, like rain clouds waiting to burst. Mara couldn't remember the last time she really slept. She'd lie in bed, eyes open, replaying memories she didn't ask for. The last conversation, the things left unsaid, the feeling that maybe she should have noticed more, done more, been more. It was a Tuesday night when it happened. She was sitting in her car, parked outside her apartment. A slow drizzle tapped against the windshield, and the streetlights flickered in the fog. She felt so out of place, like her life had become a story she wasn't living in anymore. Then, without fully thinking, she turned the key. The engine hummed quietly, and she drove. No destination, no map, only forward. The city lights gave way to highways. Highways turned to back roads. And the further she went, the darker and quieter everything became. The rain picked up, light at first, then steadier. The kind of rain that makes everything feel softer, more distant. Her headlights caught reflections of puddles, swaying branches, and the occasional road sign half swallowed by ivy. She didn't know how long she'd been driving. An hour, maybe 2. There was no fear, just stillness. A numbness that finally felt peaceful. Then, through the rain-spattered windshield, she saw something strange. At the edge of the cliffside road, where the land dropped sharply into the ocean below, a faint light flickered. It wasn't a house, not a street lamp. It blinked slowly, deliberately, like a breath. On. Office on. Office. Mara slowed the car. There were no other cars, no buildings, no marked roads. Just a narrow trail cutting through coastal brush, leading toward the source of the light. She stepped out of the car, umbrella forgotten, letting the rain soak her hair, her coat, her skin. And still. The light blinked, calling her. The storm outside faded beneath the sound of crashing waves far below. Yet somehow, she didn't feel afraid. Each step toward the trail felt lighter. Not easier exactly, but like shedding something heavy. And then she saw it. There, rising from the fog, stood a solitary lighthouse. Old, stone-built, weather-worn. Its beacon pulsed gently, more like a heartbeat than a warning. A lighthouse not to warn of danger, but to welcome the lost. Mara stood still, breath caught, watching its golden light cut through the rain like a warm whisper. For the first time in months, her thoughts stopped racing. Everything felt quiet. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know why she was here. But in her bones, she knew this lighthouse wasn't here by accident. And neither was she. Mara stood there, staring up at the lighthouse, It towered above her, tall, weathered, and beautiful in a way only time can make something. Its stone walls were streaked with moss and salt, carved with years of sea wind and silence. And yet, it stood firm, steady, like it had always been there. Waiting. The beacon glowed slowly, not in rotation like most lighthouses, but in steady pulses, as if it was breathing. A rhythm, a presence. The path to the door was made of smooth, dark stones, half covered in lichen and rain. Mara stepped carefully, her wet boots making soft clicks against the stones. Every few steps, she paused, partly to listen, partly to feel. There was something different in the air here. It wasn't just the smell of salt and earth. There was a silence that felt alive, like the world had turned its volume down, just for her. As she reached the base of the lighthouse, she noticed something odd. The door was already open, just slightly, cracked enough to show the warm glow of candlelight spilling from inside. She should have hesitated. Any other night, she would have. But the usual fears and questions didn't rise in her chest. Only a soft pull, like a thread guiding her forward. She pushed the door gently. It didn't creak. It simply welcomed her. Inside, the lighthouse was impossibly warm. Not just in temperature, but in feeling. The kind of warmth you get from old blankets and familiar voices. The kind of warmth you didn't realize you missed until it wraps around you. The walls were lined with aged wood, dark, worn smooth with time and touch. Candle sconces flickered gently, casting soft golden halos. Bookshelves spiraled up the circular walls, vanishing into the dark above. There were tables scattered about, each with an open book, a half-filled cup, a quill resting mid-sentence. Like someone had just been there and would return at any moment. And yet, no one was in sight. Mara stepped in further, letting the door shut behind her with a whisper. Her soaked coat began to dry, as if the air itself took care of her. She ran her fingers along a nearby table, smooth wood, faintly warm. On it sat a small brass compass, unmoving, but its needle glowed faintly. She wandered deeper. There was a central spiral staircase, wide and inviting. Each step was lit by soft lanterns that hung from nothing, floating gently, like dreams suspended in air. Mara climbed slowly, hand brushing the curved rail. Each floor seemed to hold something different. A reading nook filled with cushions and blankets. A globe that rotated slowly, showing not Earth, but stars. A mirror that reflected not her face, but her younger self, holding her father's hand. She paused at that one. The image didn't move, only held itself in place, like a memory captured in glass. She whispered, "Is this real?" The mirror didn't answer, but a reflection smiled and faded. She kept climbing. Near the top of the lighthouse, the staircase opened into a wide, circular room. It was the heart of the beacon. Here, the light didn't come from a bulb or lens. It floated, suspended in the air, a glowing sphere, pulsing gently like a firefly in slow motion. It filled the space with golden light, and when Mara stepped near, it felt alive. She reached out instinctively. As her fingers came close, the light shimmered, once, then again. And suddenly, she wasn't alone. A voice spoke, soft, calm, and kind. Not many make it this far on the first visit. Mara turned sharply. There, seated near the window in a high-backed chair, was a man. He looked somewhere between 50 and timeless. His face was lined, but not tired. His eyes were deep, not in color, but in presence. He wore a simple coat, patched in places, and a pendant that glowed faintly against his chest. He smiled. "Welcome to the Lighthouse." Mara stood frozen. All the questions she'd been carrying, the doubts, the fear, the wondering if she was going crazy, seemed to melt in his presence. He gestured to the seat across from him. "You've come far. Please, rest." She sat. The chair was soft. The window beside them showed not just the sea, but stars reflected in the waves, as if the sky and ocean had become one. Mara finally spoke, her voice barely above a breath. "What is this place?" The man smiled again. "This is where lost things find light again." "The lighthouse at the end of time," he replied. "It shines for those who've lost direction, not on maps, but inside." He handed her a book, blank pages. "Each guest writes here. What burdens you, leave it. What you long for, write it. This place listens." Mara explored the shelves. Each book was handwritten. Thousands of stories. Grief, joy, regret, gratitude. Some pages glowed, some wept ink, some hummed gently when opened. She read about a sailor who never forgave himself. A woman who loved someone she never got to say goodbye to. A child who dreamed of a parent who never returned. And yet, none of it felt heavy. It felt shared, like someone had held the pain for a while, and then released it. Mara cried, not out of sadness, but because she wasn't alone in how she felt. She sat by the fire that night, the book open, a pen in hand. She wrote, "I don't know why I feel so lost. I miss things I can't name. I carry shadows I can't see." And then, "But tonight, I felt peace. I want to remember that." The page shimmered slightly, then calmed. The keeper nodded from his chair. "The lighthouse remembers now. You can come back anytime, even if only in dreams." Morning came. The lighthouse faded in the light, blending into fog. Mara walked back to her car. The sea still roared, but the storm inside her had stilled. She didn't feel fixed, but she felt accompanied. And sometimes, that's all healing needs to begin. And now, dear listener, as you rest, know this. Somewhere beyond time, a lighthouse shines, steady, warm, waiting. It will guide you through your own storms. You are never alone. Let the waves carry your worries away and drift into peace.